No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Even if it was, sorry.
This is Umar Ahmed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. I'm back in the fight capital of the world, MGM Grand Las Vegas. I'm joined by Dan Rafael. We always do our Vegas pieces here. So, we've covered some big fights, Dan, where we've had you talking about on IFL, but doesn't really get bigger than Canelo and Cinco de Mayo takes on Dimitri Bivol. Let me ask you this. Do you believe Dimitri Bivol is the best light heavyweight in the world?
No, I don't. I mean, he's in the top probably 2. But at the moment, I think just based on overall accomplishment, you probably have to give it up a little bit more to Beterbiev. He's not as active as Bivol is. He's a little older than Bivol is. But I think if you have to make me pick, I would rank Beterbiev 1. He's got 2 of the titles. I would make Dimitri 2 and then Joe Smith 3.
Compared to Billy Joe Saunders, Caleb Plant and Callum Smith, I'm not going to put Anvi Yildirim in that run, but those 3... would you say Dimitri Bivol would be the best win for Canelo Alvarez?
Absolutely. My perspective on it is that Bivol would be his best win and is his best opponent since he left the middleweight division. If you have, let's say, post Canelo or post Triple G2 in that run, starting with Callum Smith, I guess it was. I don't remember the order, but Callum Smith, Yildirim, Billy Joe, Plant, and now Bivol. He is the best in my opinion. I mean, if you put Dimitri Bivol in the ring, catch weight, let's say, or even at a full 168 or even at 175, do you think he would beat Caleb Plant or Billy Joe Saunders or Callum Smith? I think absolutely. I mean, no knock on those guys. They're obviously very good fighters. They didn't get titles because anybody just handed it to them. They're accomplished in their own right. But I think that Bivol is a little better than those guys, and I think that Canelo is a little bit better than all of them.
Now, we know Canelo Alvarez, every time he fights on pay-per-view, has done tremendously well. One of the biggest stars, if not the biggest star in world boxing. This is DAZN's first pay-per-view fight, Matchroom's first pay-per-view fight in the States as well. How do you think this will perform, Dan?
That's a very interesting question because it's really hard to say because it is the first time, and so I think there are people that are unsure about it. There's different price points. I mean, as somebody like myself that does this every single day, I was even a little confused at first about it. As it turns out, if you subscribe to DAZN, like which I do, for example, you get the pay-per-view and it costs you an extra $60, $59.99. They'll just tack it onto your bill, even though you already subscribe. Like I subscribe for the whole year, but you'll get an extra charge on your credit card. So it's $60. But if you want to buy it as a regular pay-per-view through your normal television provider or ppv.com, which is the streaming service of that in demand that you would buy through on your linear TV, that comes for $79.99. But they make a thing of their advertisement, like you can buy it, no subscription required. Like if you buy it for $59.99 on DAZN, you have to also subscribe to DAZN. And some people, it's not worth. They don't care that it's $20 more. They just don't want another subscription, so they can have the opportunity to buy it as a la carte item. So the question is, how does it do when it's 2 different ways to buy it? I mean, DAZN obviously hopes that they'll help increase their subscriber base because they'll get it for $20 cheaper and get however many months or years worth of DAZN programming beyond that. For the person that just wants to do the one-off, they may say, I don't care about that. I'm not going to watch other fights. I'm a Canelo fan. I'm just going to buy it on the one pay-per-view. So it's going to kind of skew the numbers a little bit. The fight against Caleb Plant did like in the 800-plus range in pay-per-view. I think, frankly, this fight might struggle to do that kind of number, not because it's not a great fight, but because Bivol is not a well-known fighter. Not that Caleb Plant was a household name, but he was an American champion.
Did some big numbers on regular Fox, didn't he?
Did some good numbers on Fox. Again, I'm not that I advocate this, but they got into that scrape at the press conference where he wound up with a bloody eye or whatever, or a cheek. So that felt like it had a little bit more heat behind it. So I'm going to be paying close attention to that. It's an interesting thing. But from DAZN's point of view, I don't think they're necessarily saying we have to beat the number of what the Fox one did. They're looking to just build their platform, get the word out about that. And keep in mind also, they have many other territories in the world where this fight is not on pay-per-view, which is part of people's regular subscription. So they hope to get more subscriptions in all kinds of different foreign territories outside of the United States. Remember, if I'm not mistaken, the only place that Canelo versus Bivol is a pay-per-view is in the United States and I believe in Canada.
Oh, Okay.
But if you're watching this on DAZN in England, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, I believe it's just part of your regular subscription package. If you're watching this on DAZN in Japan, it's part of your regular sub package. You know, we in America, we're getting shafted. We got to pay the extra $60, but that's life in the big city.
Absolutely is. Just want to talk about the heavyweight division. So you put out a report that Anthony Joshua's rematch with Alexander Usyk will be on Sky Sports box office. There was a lot of speculation whether that will be on DAZN in the UK, but you believe Anthony will stay on Sky Sports box office in terms of a UK capacity. So just tell us where you got that information from, please, Dan.
I'm not going to tell you my sources, but what I just so we're clear about it, I did not write that he is staying on Sky Sports. I said what's the word I used? That he's poised to make that deal. That maybe he's made the decision, even though the pen may not be to paper yet. But it doesn't in any way surprise me. I have said this to others. Again, I am not Anthony Joshua's best buddy by any means, but I know Anthony a bit. I've interviewed him several times. I've been to fights of his, and if you look at the way that his career has unfolded, he is a creature of habit. I'm a creature of habit. And I understand the mentality of that. He's been with the same promoter his whole career in Eddie Hearn. He's been with the broadcaster Sky Sports his whole career. He's been with the same management, Freddie Cunningham, in 258 his whole career. He's had the same team around him most of his career. You know, that's why it was such a heartache for him to make the trainer change. Because again, Rob McCracken has been his trainer from day one. So when he went away from that, maybe he'll still bring in another new trainer. I don't know, but if he stays with Fernandez, who's been with him for a few fights, it's sort of like going in the middle where you're not making some radical wholesale change of a brand new guy you've never dealt with for any kind of length of time in a training camp, but you're still with a guy that you're familiar with. So again, it's the habit. It's what he's comfortable with. Sky's been great for him. He's been great for Sky. He probably doesn't see a need to change. DAZN, while they have a good product and they're professional and they do a good job on their coverage and all that, they're not as big as Sky in the UK. Sky's the big dog over there when it comes to pay-per-view, Sky box office. And I think he's comfortable there, and I think he knows that it's the biggest platform that he can be on in terms of pay-per-view. They pound those fights all the time. I've been in England. I see the way they promote those fights and market them. And there's something to be said for loyalty, for consistency, and the fact of the matter is whether he's on DAZN or he's on Sky Sports, he's going to make a ton of money anyway. So I feel like that's the place where he's going to stay based on what my sources have told me. And it's not a surprise, actually, because to me, the surprise would have been if he opted to leave Sky Sports. I know people say, well, it's kind of a weird situation because every other matchroom event and all of their other fighters are on DAZN. The one guy that's not part of that agreement is the biggest star of all of the Matchroom stable, which is Anthony Joshua, who had his own broadcast deal. And so if it means it's going to be a little bit weird and a little bit uncomfortable for Eddie to promote another event on Sky Sports, so be it. They're adults. They're professionals. There's no, I don't think, bad blood. They're pros. They'll do a good job on marketing that event because of Anthony, and Eddie will do his typical good job of promoting the fight, put on a quality card, and 99% of his inventory is on DAZN, and he can't make Anthony go to another promoter, to another broadcaster, the way DAZN can't make him come to them, and so I think he'll wind up staying with them, and in the United States maybe he stays on DAZN where he's been over his last several fights, but even that might be open to discussion. I really don't know. I don't know if that deal is done yet. I know Eddie's still trying to get the fight worked out in terms of squaring away 100% July 23rd, getting the official venue squared away. But in terms of the broadcast, it seems like from what I was told by people that have been involved in this thing that he's sticking on Sky Sports.
Okay. And my last topic, just go back a couple of weeks. We saw 94,000 people at Wembley Stadium for Fury v. Whyte. Before we come on to how the fight panned out, what did you make of the spectacle?
Was it 94,000? I think I heard that a couple of times. I said during the lead-up, I said every time I tweeted, every time you hear somebody say 94,000, you have to take a drink. You'd have been under the table after about 3 rounds of the undercard. As a spectacle, obviously, I was disappointed not to be there, obviously, but I know what it's like because I was there for Klitschko versus Joshua, which was 90,000 in Wembley, and I have no doubt in my mind that if they had allowed them to have 94,000 for Klitschko Joshua, they would have had 94,000. Just they were able to get an additional capacity for the Fury and Whyte fight. But yeah, it was a great atmosphere. It's such a wonderful thing for the sport, for Fury to be on that kind of level in the homecoming. I think what's lost on a lot of people, to be honest with you, is that and Tyson said this when he left Britain to come to America after he did the deal with Top Rank. This is after the Pianetta fight, I guess it was. He had the two comeback fights. He came back off of his problems, fought Safari, fought Pianetta. Not big crowds, not huge enthusiasm. He didn't look particularly good. He was trying to get himself back together after the long layoff. When he came to America, between his own training efforts and keeping himself together and the efforts of ESPN and the efforts of Top Rank, they made him to a superstar here, and it didn't hurt that he had classic fights with Deontay Wilder. And even like, say, the Tom Schwartz fight, where not a well-known guy, but he scored a good knockout. Then he had the great fight with Otto Whalen, where he overcame the terrible cut. So he showed the American public something, and he became, we kind of adopted him here as like one of ours, I guess, for a while. So for him to go from where he was after all the problems after the Klitschko fight, the two like low-key comeback fights in Britain, and leave at a time where he wasn't really beloved in any way, shape, or form, and to come back and go into that atmosphere with an outpouring of love from his countrymen, and to take on, a bona fide contender, and who was a good fighter in his own right, in Dylan White, who deserved that opportunity to fight for the title, and to put that number of people and do that kind of business, and then score that kind of knockout. I mean, good for Tyson Fury. I was really happy for him.
Well, I've asked him, I've asked Frank Warren, what's going to happen in the career of Tyson Fury. He's adamant that he'll retire. Do you believe that is it for Tyson Fury?
I like to think that he's not just outright lying to us. So I feel like that, and this is not just Tyson Fury, this is many boxers who have said they're retired and then ultimately come back soon thereafter. That when they say it, they believe it, and they feel like they're done. And then a couple of weeks go by, and maybe the adulation is not there anymore. They're not getting all the calls for the interviews and for the appearances, and there's people calling you, we can do this for you on this fight, we can give you this much money for that fight. And there's only so many times that you can go mow the lawn or go. I'll give you an example. I remember, I've told this story before, when Bernard Hopkins retired after he fought Antonio Tarver and became the lineal light heavyweight champion in a great performance. He had said before that fight he was going to retire, and he retired when the fight was over. And on a slow day, a couple of months later, and I had a good relation with Bernard. I was looking for something to write. I thought, maybe, I'm going to call Bernard up and I'm going to write a column about how's retirement, what's it like in retirement. You've been off you've been out of sight now for a couple of months. And Bernard Hopkins started to tell me about how he had cleaned out his garage, how he was taking his daughter to school or to her dance lessons, and he was cleaning. He was washing his car. And he was going through the box of clippings that his wife had kept from the boxing magazines and the newspapers throughout his career, and he was sorting through it. And he sounded bored to death. And I hung up on that call, and I said to myself, there's absolutely no possible way that Bernard Hopkins is not coming back. And not like a year from now, but soon. And like a couple of months later, he announced he was coming back. And I think that Fury, he's going to take the time to decompress after that training camp and that massive spectacle, and think about what he wants to do. Maybe he'll set up an exhibition fight, but that in the end he's going to feel like have an itch to scratch, because who's the one that says all the time, I'm a fighting man, that's all I know, I'm just the dumb boxer that gets hit in the face? Well, if that's what you are, that's what you are, and he's got plenty of good years left in him, and he can still make big fights, he can still make astronomical money, and he seems to like it. It's not like boxing is like a hardship for him. He enjoys it. If you ever watch any of the videos of him in camp or you see him in a training session, he enjoys it. So why would you retire from something you love to do, that you're going to be extremely well paid for, that people are asking you to do? I don't see him staying away for a long period of time. That I think he'll be back. He's only 32, undefeated champ. If he does walk away, and I wrote this in a column, if he walks away, God bless him. Good for him. He's healthy. He's wealthy. He's got, beautiful children and a wife and the whole thing. And, he can, he'll never have to buy a drink, or a meal wherever he goes. People are going to say, come on, Tyson, it's on me. So he's got that going for him. He's now a beloved figure at home. But I think that if you're a guy that constantly says, I'm a fighting man, and you're still really great at what you do, and you can still make a shitload of money, come on, we'd be back.
And he's getting better and better, so yeah, you definitely make some good points there. What did you make of Dylan White's interview on Sky Sports, where he was talking about the push, and he said that was the main reason as to why he was hurt, rather than the shot that landed on his chin?
I've never met a boxer that doesn't have tries to rationalize or have a reason that they didn't win. And I feel Dylan's pain. I know it was a hard loss. He worked so hard to get to the shot in the first place, and it didn't go his way, and he kind of got outclassed and got knocked out, and it's embarrassing and everything. But for him to suggest that the push was the problem, my response to that would be, you should be happy that all he did was push you on the chest instead of throw another right hand, because he would have taken your head off. So to me, that's much ado about nothing. He's not getting a rematch. There's not any kind of investigation. There was no, technically is it a foul? I guess, but it wasn't. It's not anything that was going to be changed. He got clobbered with a massive shot, and he couldn't continue, and that's the end of the story. And he knows, he'll watch it back. He'll realize he got outclassed, and I'm still a Dylan Whyte fan. I hope he comes. I hope he, if he wants to, I hope that Dylan Whyte, takes a little break, enjoys the fruits of his hard work of that giant payday that he made, and and comes back, because he can still put on some big events in the sport of boxing.
Yeah, definitely can. Dan, Rafael, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV here at the start of Canelo at Bivol Fight Week. A busy week ahead. Just before we close off, plug your newsletter as always.
I appreciate that. No, people can. They always say, "Where are you writing these days?" So my main thing is they go on danrayfield.substack.com. It's my newsletter. I'm very appreciative of everybody who's subscribed. They get the emails. They can set up the app and get the phone alerts. I also am appreciative of the folks that have taken the time to sign up for the paid version of it, help support my efforts in covering boxing. Without being bought and paid for by any promoter or any fighter or anything like that. So that's mainly what I'm doing. I'm working with my good friend TJ Reeves over at Big Fight Weekend, writing for some things on his website. We're doing a podcast, so I'm keeping busy, still covering the sport I love, and having a great time doing it.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Welcome, Team Everlast, to the Team Everlast Fitness app. Download the Everlast Fitness app and find your greatness within.